I live, if I've never seen you before or haven't talked too much, I live in Littleton, Colorado. It was quite a reminder to me when the shooting happened at Virginia Tech. It brought back a lot of memories. You know, it was very bizarre to see all that on the news and to see just it's very abrupt. Just the feelings come back really easily, and I guess I haven't thought about it in those ways. I talk about it a lot, but I haven't thought about it in remembering what it was like to be standing outside the school hoping that everybody we knew came out, and I had that experience. I will never forget one of the teenagers from our church, one of those just collage of memories in my mind, just jumping, coming out of the school, jumping over a fence, running to this spot where a bunch of us were standing, and literally falling into my arms, and just looking at me crying and said, I bet you've never actually run for your life. That's what she said. I always remember that. Bet you've never actually run for your life. And I was like, no, I haven't. It would be difficult or impossible to capsulize that whole experience for you in just a minute or two. I think the one thing that kind of sums it up for me, it was probably, I know it was exactly 3 years later, we're having graduation mass. I don't know if you do that at your church, but we kind of have a little moment where we pray at our church on Sunday over all the seniors who are graduating and going off to college or work or wherever they go. So we're having a little prayer for them, and one of the young people comes up, and this was planned, and she stepped up. The police knew her story. A few of us knew what had happened to her, but very few people did. She didn't write any books. She didn't tell any do any interviews with Katie Couric or anything like that. You know, she just wanted to be a normal teenager as best she could. And so she stood up that day, and it hit us as we were planning the music, because I was part of planning the music for that. And 3 years later, see, this was class were freshmen when the shooting happened. So it evolved not into just an ordinary graduation mass. These were the last group of students who were in the school when the shooting happened. It was the last group of students who would have, you know, empty chairs at their graduation for the people who didn't make it out of school that day. And so she stands up and she says, I didn't do any interviews or anything because everyone was looking for heroes, and I wasn't a hero. I just survived. I didn't do anything you wouldn't have done. She said, but I feel like a piece of me stays behind if I don't share a little bit of what happened to me. And she said, you know, I was one of the people. I was a person that they asked, do you believe in God? You know? She said, I'll always remember I was under a table in the library. And this guy just points a gun right at my head and says, hey, do you believe in God? Just like that. And she said, I have no idea what he wanted me to say. I have no idea if he really cared what I had to say. The only thing I could think of was, you know, I'm about to say the last thing I ever say on the face of the earth. And you know, the last thing I ever say on the face of the earth is not going to be, no, I don't believe in God, because I do. And so she looked at him and she said, yes, I do. And he laughed. He laughed at her and he said, why? And she told us that day, she said, you know, truthfully, I wasn't actually expecting any follow-up questions. So she's like, I wasn't sure what to say. She said the very first thing that came to her mind, she looked back at him and she said, well, because that's what my parents taught me, and now I believe it for myself. To this day, she thinks it's kind of a stupid answer. I pulled her aside that day just for a minute, and I said, that was a brilliant answer. It wasn't a stupid answer. It was a brilliant answer. It was a very Catholic answer, actually, because you said, because that's the faith that has been passed on to me, and now I proclaim it as my own. That's what you said. She was like, well, I didn't say it like that. I told her, you know, you were under a lot of pressure, so I understand. After she said that, they shot her 12 times from 3 feet away. And it's a miracle that she's alive. Even the doctors that operated on her were willing to say, you know, I mean, those bullets had to make U-turns in there. She told us that day, I know my life is a miracle, and I know there's a reason that I'm here. I'll never forget standing with 6 or 7 of the students who were in the school that day, and we were just talking about what she had said and what it meant to leave that place and move on in their lives. And, you know, it is, what they learned was how to be a disciple. That's what they learned. It wasn't a faith-killing experience. It was a faith-inspiring experience. There was a young man whose funeral I played for, and I will never forget, at the end of that funeral, his mom came up and she just buried her freshman son, you know? And she stood at the microphone in our church and she said, I can only compare having your teenager murdered to having your heart ripped out of your chest while you're still alive. But I'm standing here today because I know that God is bigger. And we gather in this church today because we know no matter what evil we perpetrate on each other, God still wins in the end. And I will never forget that moment. And I, Steve, am standing here with you today because I know that that's true. I know that we have a God that wins in the end. And I don't know what's the biggest trouble in your life, what's the biggest hurt or the biggest sorrow or the biggest joy, but God is bigger than all those things. All those things, and calls us to live like it, you know? It's not going to be presidents and generals who change the world. It's going to be you and me who live our faith and make it real. It's going to be you and me. I stood in that circle with those 6 students after that service, and I remember this kid saying, you know what's changed for me? What's changed for me is it's easier to walk up to the kid that everybody else made fun of and to say, hey, leave him alone. It's easier for me to pick up the books that everybody else is stepping over and laughing because some kid dropped them and hand it to him. Say, sorry about that. Because what's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing is that the guy over there that laughs at everybody is going to laugh at me. I don't even know his name. I'm going to let him choose the course of my life. I don't even know who he is. I can't live like that. This girl said it's a lot easier to walk up to my mom and give her a kiss in the morning before I leave, even though I'm mad at her. Because even though I know it's likely that I will be back at 4 o'clock this afternoon, I will never assume that it's certain that I will be back at 4 o'clock this afternoon, because I just might not. Well, I pray to God that never happens to anybody else in the world. It pains me to see it on TV. But I can tell you the world would be a better place if a few more of us learned the lessons that those students learned. And we were willing to live our life every day like that. Because that's what's going to change the world. I'm telling you, what changes the world is that you and I live it. That our faith is not something we lock up in the church that we save for stained glass windows and old books that get read to us on Sundays, but that we come and we celebrate what we believe, and then we walk out those doors and we live it in a world that is desperate to know that God is real, that's looking for the sign. And it's probably not going to be thunderbolts and lightning. It's going to be you and me looking in their eyes and living our faith the way we are called to. And the way we're capable of is to love as Jesus loves. I sang this song at 2 of the funerals, and I would like to just pray it with you. You are my God, and the rock on which I stand. I have found my place in your arms of grace. Oh, you are my God. Oh, you are my God. You are my God, and the rock on which I stand. I have found my place in your arms of grace. Oh, you are my God. Oh, you are my God. That's what I kind of imagine, is that every one of those young people that died found their place in his arms of grace, you know. So sing it with me. I know it's kind of tricky, but you are my God and the rock on which I stand. You are my God, yeah, and the rock on which I stand. I have found my place in your arms of grace. Oh, you are my God. Oh, you are my God. You sound good. Pray it with me now. One more time. You are my God, and the rock on which I stand. I sing this with me. Here I am, Lord. Is it I have heard you calling in the night. I will go if you lead me. I will hold your people in my arms. Sound good? This is just a song that says, yes, Lord, I'll follow you. I will be that light in the world. I, the Lord of sea and sky. I, the Lord of sea and sky. I have heard my people cry, all who dwell in darkness. My hand will say, my hand will say, I who made the stars of night, I who made the stars of night, I will make